Hi, this is Travis from Get Hopped Apparel, and today we are creating a pepperoni roll dress. Let's get to it.
Let's start by looking at some reviews of this dress. Now, these aren't my specific reviews, but these are the reviews of the dress that is being printed and then stitched together by Printful. So this is the review of the actual dress itself, not what I am making. These reviews are not for me, they're of the dress. So let's see. This person at the bottom says dress fits to size. That's good. The material's a little stretchy. Length is a few inches above my knee, not too short. Christy S is happy. She got us large and the fit was great. The material's soft. It is stretchy. That's what I want. The hem it goes just above the knees. The scoop neck is modest and average, not too flashy. Shoulder straps are comfortable, of a comfortable width. The first design they printed was on a white base. They were worried about it being transparent, but it wasn't. The fabric is thick enough, but it's not bulky, and it does have flow and swing. The neckline's cute. Okay, so that's a good one. This person actually left some reviews. They say that they're happy that we get plus sizes. The dress moves beautifully and feels super cozy. They're made in the USA, that they are. Uh, they run true to size and also true to the measurement charts. And this person is completely legit because they actually own mannequins. um, and actually, the dress looks really wonderful. The hemline looks great. I like the stitchings up here around the arms. That just looks really, really nice. Look at that. It looks comfortable. It looks uh, like it has a good amount of stretch to it. Therefore, it will be great for most body types. Um, where the it comes down to about the knees. That's excellent. Let's go down here. The collars are amazing. They included a picture, and indeed the collars are very vibrant. Margaret C. loves her dress. She made a video and a try-on. She is Texas Gal Treasures over on YouTube. You can see I love the way that the dress fits. The Jennifer S. hesitated, thinking it wouldn't fit average girls. Um, the measurements seemed long for anyone of a normal height. But then she got it, and she was going to give it to her niece, but she decided to keep it herself. Ricardus is pleased. They believed that it could be a little bit tighter around the waist, so they gave it 4 stars. And lastly, let's go down here. This person says the fabric's okay. They are an extra small, but they could easily fit. The sizing is off. I ordered an extra small, but it can easily fit a medium person. So they're agreeing with the other individual that it's a little loose around the waist. So I'm going to include that in the listing that it might be a little bit loose around the waist. This person's customers are happy, especially the curvier, shorter ones. The extra large fits their waist and bust great without it being too long, falling just to the knees. And then we have one in Spanish, and she included some images with it. She has a quilted pattern, and she says, I'm very excited. It's a great product. I feel very happy with this purchase, like a girl. All perfect. The fabric's beautiful. Love the label. And almost all of these people are actual sellers. Very few of them are going to be people who are just going to buy a one-time product. They're actually wanting to turn around and sell it in their own stores. So these are really great reviews, and I'm very excited to move forward with this dress. First thing I want to do is pull up a short video of the actual dress itself. I'm not going to show you the whole video. It's from my printer. It is a skater dress. That means that it is a circle dress.
A circle dress implies that it comes down and the skirt of the dress comes out in a circle. You'll see her do a little spinny spin here in a second. Right now you can see them printing it out. They actually sew the hems together after the dress is printed. There you just saw the spin. Okay, so the dress comes down and then it flares out into a circle. Now let me show you what that template looks like. There are 4 total dresses here, and I'm going to go ahead and show you the front and the back. This is the back, and this right here is the front of the dress. And what they do, how they work, is they come down, and the hems connect. Now, if you can imagine with me here for a second, a dress, and imagine that there is a grid on this dress. What's going to happen is along the sides over here, on the front it's going to look normal, but on the sides it's going to look warped because it's going to circle up to connect to the other part of the dress. So what we want to do is create a dress with no implied directionality. Directionality is on just about every pattern possible, but you can design it to make it look chaotic, sporadic, random, and in doing so, you can get the best possible dress. So let me show you an example as to what I'm talking about. And in fact, I've already drawn over a little pattern here to suggest where this would be cropped if it was a repeating pattern, which it is. And you can see here that this dress actually does have directionality, especially like along the sides, and it wraps. This isn't the dress that I'm going to be making, it's just similar to it. And you can see that it does have some implied directionality, but on the same token, it retains that chaotic, sporadic illustration. And part of the reason is because the individual designs, the individual items, are all facing their own repeating ways, which vary distinctly. So by doing that, it gives it the illusion that it is non-linear, which is what we want. The reason I have this other dress here is for the collars. Now I don't want to use these exact collars in the pepperoni roll dress, but I really like the oranges, the yellows, and the whites, and I like how the black of the dress is actually part of the design. Like this isn't printed black. This is actually cut out from the design, like a layer of transparency. So the actual dress is part of the design itself. So the first necessary thing is to make sure that it looks good. And in order to do that, I'm going to need a few images, and these images are going to need to be different shapes, different sizes, different directions. You'll notice here that on this dress you have things that are varying shapes. You got things that point large and are triangles. You got little things that kind of look more like circles or polka dots. Because everything kind of has its own implied, and you got some squares over here. So you have some implied shapes on this dress that I'm analyzing, that I'm trying to not copy, but mimic, because it's very important that the final product look good. Sure, the pepperoni roll dress is kind of a novelty dress. That's the fun of it, but it has to look good. It has to look like something that somebody would actually want to wear out to work, and something that someone can wear, and like a silly tie, for a dude, like they can still look professional, and people can still take them seriously wearing a pepperoni roll dress. That is my goal, and I believe that that goal can and will be accomplished. So we need to start with planning several different pepperoni rolls. So what I'm going to do is right now I'm still going to be working completely just by scratch. I'm not going to be taking this too seriously yet. Once I get my images down, then I'm going to clean them up. I'm going to take them and turn them into vector images. And then from there, I'm going to line them up to create an appropriate pattern for this dress. So those are the steps that are going to come. Right now, I need to go ahead and start creating a few different images of pepperoni rolls. Now, I have a few pepperoni rolls here. The reason I compile these isn't to trace them or anything nefarious like that. It's just to give me an idea as to what pepperoni rolls look like. Because sometimes, much like writers get writer's block, uh, designers will get designer block, where they'll just try to sit there and shut their eyes and think. And the problem with pepperoni rolls is they're very basic. They're not very attractive things when you cut right into them, as you can see here, because you've got a yeast roll that is filled essentially with cheese and pepperoni. So I'm going to grab my varied circle brush under imported. It is a brush that I got from elsewhere on the internet. It does not come with Procreate. And I'm going to give it a good solid tap on a new layer. Then I'm going to adjust that into an elongated oval here. I'm going to make it bigger just so I can see better. And I'm going to duplicate that layer, move the other one over here, shrink it down a little bit. And I'm going to imagine, I'm going to go back and switch my brush to my studio pen, and I'm going to imagine where the center of this would be. And I'm going to create a line up here, and I want it to go just a little bit above. And what that does is it tells me where the center of the elongated pepperoni roll is. So then I can draw a line up, make that the apex, and have it fall back down to over here. And then I want to flatten out down here and have it come back and meet. So now that the pepperoni rolls are done, what I need to do is actually go in and illustrate other things such as pepperoni and cheese and possibly flour. I haven't quite made up my mind on that yet. I'm leaning no. But pepperoni and cheese. The pepperoni, I have to keep these images very, very non-complex. I don't want to say simple, but very non-complex, so that number one, they can print decently, and also number two, so that they can be recognized. So for the cheese, I'm going to be cheating a little bit. Normally, in a pepperoni roll, you would either put American, cheddar, or pepper jack, one of those three cheeses. Usually number one or three, actually, American or pepper jack. Cheddar is kind of harder to find, at least in the streets. But when you think about a slice of American cheese, it's a square. You don't want to have just squares of cheese on a dress. That is boring. Cheddar comes in big yellow chunks. Boring. So what I'm going to do is actually create triangle of cheese, and I'm going to gently create some texture in it, make it look like it might have some holes, sort of like Swiss would, so that people will know that it's supposed to be cheese. You don't normally put Swiss in a pepperoni roll, but I'm just doing it to elicit the thoughts of cheese. So what this shows me is that even spacing can be achieved, as well as a cohesive pattern that is linear, but it also gives the appearance of being random. And if I want to, I can, let me actually copy the first one here real quick so I can preserve it. And let me merge these together, shrink this down, and just kind of give you an idea as to what the final pattern is going to look like here. There we go. So this is an idea as to what the final pattern is going to look like. And you can see that it's fairly even. And when it curves around the skirt, this right now it's looking like you got some linear stuff going right here. And you completely do. Yeah, and there's very little controlling that. Now when I go in and make the final product, I'm going to have to use a collar to pull away from that a little bit, as well as more spacing. You'll notice that there's some things right here that is way too close together. So there's still going to be things I'm going to be changing. This is by no means whatsoever final. It's just to give me an idea as to how I can move forward. So now that we have proof of concept, what I'm going to do is go back to the original file, and I'm going to start building these out. I'm actually going to create a whole new file, and we're going to zoom right through this, so come along to ride with me.
Timeout. So for the next few minutes, you're going to see my mug taking up about a third of the screen. This is unintentional. During editing, what I did is I brought in several different video chunks to splice them together and then deleted the original photos after an export so that I could decrease the file size because I was working on my iPad directly. It was a mistake, and I will not do it again. But it's only for a few minutes, so hang in there.
I'm actually pulling you in with me to my creative process here. I want to go ahead and start by, earlier I mentioned I like these collars. I'm going to go ahead and pull these collars in to a separate top layer just so I can get a feel for them. Right now I'm working in an RGB color space. What I'm making right now is not the final product. I'm going to make vectors of what the final product will be, and those will be CMYK. CMYK is better for printing. But what the hell happened? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and grab this yellow, this orange. Believe I don't want to. There's like a dark red in here. That one's a good one, especially when I'm dealing with pepperoni. And also with pepperoni, I'm going to need this lighter red too, because you can see here if I do this, and that starts to look like pepperoni. So I'm going to get this lighter red, and just for posterity, I'm going to grab the pink and the blue. I doubt I will use either of those, but we'll see. And then, of course, black and white. And I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this layer. Excuse me. And because I have this, I'm going to go ahead and delete that whole group so I can minimize the number of layers that I'm working with. Overall, I think right now I'm allowed 18 total layers in this Procreate. I think it just changes based on your available memory. So let's see, what one should I start with? Let's start at the bottom, sure. So I'm going to go ahead, isolate that, copy and paste. That copy and paste it into a new layer. I'm going to move that up here, make it a little bit larger. And let's look at some pepperoni rolls so we kind of have an idea. Now, I have a habit, and it's a very, very bad habit of when illustrating to tend to go a little bit too realistic. I have to actually allow myself to pull back and make designs more minimalistic, and give the illusion of something, as opposed to working in on the details and making sure you can see the fat in the pepperoni, and making sure you can see the texture of the bread. I'm not going to go that route today. I am going simple. I want to give the illusion. I want to make this appropriate for a dress. You don't want a dress that is too overly convoluted. So I know that I have these basic collars to work with, and I want to use um, within the pepperoni rolls black as little as possible, at least right now. That could change, but I'm going to go ahead and start. I'm thinking that the crust of the bread should be this darker orange. Let me make sure that I have, ooh, the monoline is perfect. Let me see how thick that is. Okay, that's actually a great, great thickness for right now. I'm going to grab that and actually move it down just a tiny bit. And I am going to trace under here, come up around, and finish the circle. It's not a perfect circle, that's okay. Let me actually make sure my streamline is all the way up. Okay. So there is that, and I know that the rest of the outside of the pepperoni roll is also that same collar. So I will trace back here. There we go. It doesn't have to be perfect right now because, as I said earlier, it's going to be redone as a vector image. Okay, so on the inside of the pepperoni roll, I want to just simply give the illusion of pepperoni. So I'm going to use this darker red, and I am going to do a simple curly Q right here. Fill that in, see what it looks like. Not bad. I'm gonna see what it looks like even simpler. Perfect. I'm going to take that and move it to right there. Perfect. And actually, because it's a different color, let's do it on a different layer entirely. Copy and paste, and then regrab this and just clear There we go. Now we have that in a different layer entirely. So we can go in and give some cheese to the inside of this right behind that. Now we got the cheese. Let's actually have the cheese go down a little bit further, like so. Okay. And then let's go back to this layer and drop in that orange. Fill it in down here. And I did not realize I was working on the same layer as my guides, but that's okay. That is quite alright. Okay, and this final inside layer, I think I'm going to make it that color that I wasn't initially going to use. And I'll drop it in. Oh god. So let's go up here to my collar wheel. And let's find some harmonious collars. Complementary. Now I want more analogous here. So let's select this one and see what that looks like. Let's go back here. Trying to get a more accurate collar. You know, I think that could work. We won't know until we see the final product, but I think for now, this could work.
We got the first one done, now let's fast forward through the rest. If you have any procedural questions, feel free to reach out to me, and I might answer or even make a video if it comes to that.
Now that I have the designs, I'm going to recreate them as vectors.
While this step isn't entirely necessary, I do it because I want to have the crispest, strongest image available for when I start putting these together into a pattern, because a single pixel off can make or break a pattern. Also, I don't know, I might want to reuse the pattern or the actual images in the future, especially if people like it and they might want it on other items. They might want, say, I might want to make socks or sublimated t-shirts or any other variety of items. This will be available to me. Here I'm using Affinity Designer. It is another paid iPad program. Affinity also makes Affinity Photo, which I will be using later in this, which is paid as well.
All right, so now that we have the vectors, what I'm going to do is go ahead and start creating the pattern. So on Affinity Designer, I'm going to go to New Document. I want this document to be 4500 by 5400 pixels. I would like a 300 dpi and transparent background, and give me a CMYK color space. And the rest of these settings look just fine, so I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. I'm going to jump over to Procreate, where I already have some imagery set up.
Okay, this is where it starts to get a little bit fun. So we are going to start actually creating the layout for what will become the final pattern. The first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and hide that background layer that tells me where everything goes, because everything is already in its approximate spot. I'm going to select this all, hold down one finger, which it turns out you actually do have to do, but you got to start moving it beforehand. And we'll get it. We want it just so the items start to appear over the sides. When the items are appearing over the sides, we are in good hands. Like so. So now we have quite a few items that are bleeding over the sides, and what we're going to want to do is each of these items that are going over the side, we're going to want to copy them and then relocate them to the other side, the exact same distance away. Okay, so why don't we start with this giant piece right here at the very top. I'm going to use two fingers to hold down, move it, and then move it back up to copy. I'm going to go down here to the position tool. I'm going to be working on the y-axis. So I'm going to go plus 5400, which is the height of the document. And I'm going to go OK, and you'll notice it copied it down there. It's exactly where I want it. Now let's see, in terms of positioning, I'm not comfortable with all this white space right here. So I'm going to undo that, undo the duplication, and I am going to nudge this up just a tiny, tiny bit. That should be good. So let's do this again. Two-finger copy, and add to the Y position 5400 pixels, and it copied it down, and now we can look down and see that there's an adequate amount of spacing between these items. I'm going to just move that right here. I'm going to move this over here a nudge, and I think we should be good. Okay, so now I'm going to copy this from the bottom to the top. And earlier I did plus 5400. Now let me copy it and put it back where it came from. So now I'm going to do this, go here, and go minus 5400. Okay, and it copied it to the top. Now looking at the top, I'm not really happy with how close that pepperoni is to that pepperoni roll. However, I also notice, well, let me, before I worry about that pepperoni roll, I am going to try doing the exact same thing on the large stick of pepperoni. So, I messed that up. All right, let's do it the old-fashioned way here. Okay, copy and paste. And then whenever I pasted it back, it would just do like a pixel off, and I don't want to be a pixel off on anything on this. It all has to be exactly perfect in order for the final product to work. So let's go back here and add 5400.
Or did I mean to subtract 5400? There we go, subtract. Okay, but we also know that it comes in on the side too. So I need to do this on all the corners because that's going to hit up everything. All right, so let's repeat that, but this time we're going 4,500 long ways. So on the x-axis, I believe I will be subtracting 4,500. Okay, that is what I'll be doing, but I forgot to copy it first. So copy and paste. Okay, so now I'm going to take this image and I am going to move it 4,500 pixels. So let me grab the transform button, go to the y-axis, and actually x-axis, my bad, minus 4,500, okay. And I done messed that up. That's alright, quite alright. Okay, so let's copy it first and paste it. Copy, paste, and then x-axis minus 4,500. Okay. Alright, so now I'm noticing that that pepperoni and that pepperoni roll are just a little bit too close together. So I'm going to grab both of those, and on the y-axis, or on the x-axis, I'm going to move them over just ever so slightly. Let's, for starters, try plus 50 and go from there. Let's do that again. Plus 75. Minus 25. I should have just done plus 50. Okay, that's looking a little bit better. And I am going to try just to rotate this to look at the different directionalities that it can go. I don't like this white space between the flat lay and the cheese. Well, I think, yeah, that's about as good as that's going to get right here. I want to, let's copy this. Let's do the same on this one and see what it looks like. Duplicate, and then on the x-axis, I would like to add 4,500. Okay. And on this one, let's go to duplicate and subtract 4,500. Okay, and I can already tell you that I don't like how close that pepperoni is to that pepperoni roll. So I'm going to get rid of that. Okay, the duplication has been undone. And I'm going to just move it slightly up. And I can move this pepperoni roll over here. Now let's try duplicating and then going down here to the transform, and on the x-axis subtract 4,500. Okay, and that's looking a little bit better. I'm going to grab both of these, and on the y-axis I am going to add 25. Actually, I meant to subtract 25, I guess. There we go. Okay, we have a little bit more space. Let me get this one more over here in the center between these three, and where this increases the white space over here, it makes the white space between
The cheese and the flat pepperoni roll less noticeable or less of an issue. But right now my worry is that all the pepperoni rolls are on the bottom, but I also have to remind myself that the pattern is going to repeat, so there is no bottom, there is no top. There's just this one part that doesn't have the red swish of the pepperoni roll, and that's okay. I should, however, there really should, just for the visualization, be a pepperoni roll between the cheese. There we go. We're starting to look a little bit better here, aren't we? There's more red, it's more spaced out, better flow. Okay, alright. So let's see, there's this one right here needs to be done. Duplicate that. And then on the x-axis, I want to add 4,500. Okay, ooh, that's too close. Way too close. So grab both of these, and we will just move them down to about this position right here. In fact, I think I'm just getting rid of one entirely. Okay, let's do the same on this. Duplicate, and then on the x-axis, minus 4,500. That is well spaced. Okay, I believe I have everything that touches an edge going over the edge. I want to put that one there. Okay. So now let's see how it all fits together. Let's see if it works. I'm not an errant, so I want to take a moment to show you how I messed up. When you look at the pattern that I had started to create, I skipped ahead a little bit here. You will notice that I accidentally started to create a sort of directionality that I totally did not want to create. So I'm going back and I'm actually reordering everything so that we can try again because I messed up. A few minutes later.
I need to change the dimensions. I want to save it as a PNG, 4,500 by 5,400, and I am going to title it Pattern. And here in a second, I'm going to show you how it stacks up against the one that I just messed up on. I'm going to go ahead and hit OK and save it to Procreate and hit Replace. Now I'm going to go over here to Procreate, and I'm going to group together the one that turned out to be crap. Go ahead and I'm going to add a file pattern. It's going to import, and then I'm just going to take this down. I need to zoom in here so I can go right along the guides, hopefully. It won't let me snap to the guides. I might have to do this in Photoshop. I don't know why it's not snapping. Well, it is snapping, but it's not snapping to what I want it to snap to. Alright, I'm going to duplicate that layer. Zoom in over here. Get right up in here because it's not snapping. And then select both of these, group them, and then I am going to duplicate this group, zoom in down here, grab that, oops, need to follow this down. And you can see there's a very thin line there, which implies that I probably should actually do this in Photoshop, because it is not snapping when I need it to snap. But we can see here, I might not need to do it in Photoshop. I'll try another app before I go there. But we can see here, let me combine these two groups together into one. And shrink it down to the same size as this one over here. Now with the one that I had messed up on, you can see a sort of directionality. However, with this new one, the directionality is a lot more sporadic around the bush. You have, these are the pepperoni rolls, and then on the actual pepperoni, it also follows its own, almost like a rivery, flowy path, as opposed to a single direction, which was initially over here. And that's kind of what we want. It's better on the eyes. It makes it look more natural, and it doesn't grab your attention to one spot or one direction. So that's what we're going to go for. I'm going to try to use a couple different apps to place this on. If not, I'll use Photoshop, but I probably should be able to actually on Affinity itself. So stick with me.
Okay, so with some minor rearranging due to the issue that I was just having, I have finally created the perfect layout. So I'm going to export it, and up here I need to change the width and height. It automatically tries to change it for me, make the file massive. As you can see, it's still generating the export. Don't want that, so I want it 4500 by 5400. And I'm going to rename it to pattern, and I am going to save it in Procreate's file. Then I'm going to go to Affinity Photo. Before I was on Affinity Designer working in vectors. Now I'm going to be on Affinity Photo. And up over here, I am going to open a template for the dress. I'm going to place from the cloud, and I am going to find that file, and here it is, pattern, and I am going to drag it out just a little bit bigger than what I will want, actually quite a bit bigger than what I will want. I need to duplicate that, make sure that I have just one layer selected, actually go in, and then I'm going to move this, and you can see that the guides work really well, and it's going to snap, but the snap isn't going to be 100% right. So I need to zoom in, possibly. Actually, I think this snap might have been perfect. Let me go in and look. I don't see any white spaces here. Wait, yes I do. It went away. Oh, okay, that's not an actual white space. What that is, computer trying to show me two different images. So that white space does not actually exist, and that's perfectly fine. So I'm going to grab both of these and group them together, move them up here, and then I am going to duplicate that group, grab the second group, zoom in a little bit, grab the second group, and I'm going to move it right down. And it should snap right into place. Let me zoom in. Well, now I'm seeing that white line. I see the white line there, I see the white line there, so it came back. So I was wrong. Let me undo that group. I can just delete this group altogether. Go back here. And I need to just grab this and move it over one single pixel. And that should be lined up down here too. It is good. So verifying that it's lined up, I'm going to duplicate this group again, zoom in, and move it right down to where it snaps. Now I need to zoom in and verify that there are no white spaces, but I know not to trust it. Okay, I don't see any. Except when I zoom out and zoom in real quick, I do. Okay, I believe it's good. I believe it is perfect. So I'm going to grab all these, and if it's not, I'll just go back and fix it. It's really not a big deal. Go ahead and group this again and duplicate that whole group and move it over here. There is a white space. So I'm going to zoom in really close to where I can see a single pixel, and it's gone. I moved it over just one pixel, and that was all it needed. So now I have to make a decision. How big do I want the pepperoni roll dress to be? Like, how obvious do I want it to be that it is, in fact, pepperoni rolls on the dress and not just a cute dress? So I have to put my mind in the shoes of someone wearing the pepperoni roll dress. So if they're wearing it, are they wanting to be silly? A little bit. But they're also probably wanting to show some solidarity with people who have a bit of West Virginia pride. And, so that you would also wear that in non-silly circumstances. Heck, I could, see my wife wearing it to work. And so I think that I shouldn't make it too big. I should decrease the size a bit to make it a bit more conservative in appearance, but still make it fun. So I am going to grab, I don't need to grab that group, these, and I am going to shrink them down to, I would say that that is a good size right there. And I'm going to place that right here. And I am going to regroup those groups and just do the same thing. I'm going to duplicate that. I'm sure that there are better ways to do this that won't take up so much of a file size, but it doesn't matter. Whatever's more convenient, and in this case, this is more convenient. Okay, so here's where the line runs. Is that off by a pixel? I believe it is off by a pixel. Let me go over here. I want to look at this one to verify. Yep, you look off by a pixel too. That's looking fun. That is a festive looking dress so far. Okay, so I'm going to group the groups, and I am going to duplicate. And just again, grab
and move until it snaps. It snapped right there. Now let me see where the difference is over here. Good, okay. Zoom in really close so that I can just scoot it over 1 pixel. So that is going to be kind of what the dress is going to look like. For now, let me grab all of the groups again. I want to group the groups. And I am just going to play with the sizing so I can just imagine, what it would be like really small. The pepperoni accidentally gives it some the sticks accidentally give it some directionality. Not a big fan of that. However, I do find the pepperoni to be imperative to the final product. So I don't want to go messing with it. Let's see here. I'm looking at the hem. We have the pepperoni rolls coming up from the hem. Doesn't look anything too outrageous down there. The way that these work is you see these dotted lines. Anything outside of these dotted lines will still be printed, but that is where the hem will get cut over and sewn. So it's not one size fits all by any measure. They still have to cut it and sew it. So I can't line it up too perfectly. However, there is a little trick to trying to get it lined up with the front, which I will be doing here in a second. Okay, I believe that looks like a good size. I like when I look at this and I try to follow the pepperoni rolls with my eyes. They just kind of like go in loops as opposed to any certain direction. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we are going to remove the top layer and export this actually. And I'm going to open up this one and I'm going to place from cloud, and I'm going to place what I just saved. So pep roll bottom back, and it is going to place, and I want it lined up exactly as I had it. So exactly like this. And now what I need to do is flip it, and flipping it makes it so that the seams will more than likely line up. The front will match the back, and that is exactly what I want. So I am rotating that, and on here I can unselect that, and I'm going to save this, export it. All right, and now I am going to go and create the blouse of the dress, the top of the dress. So I'm going to just do the same thing. I'm going to paste it from the cloud. That is pep roll bottom back. And it wants me to drag it out, and drag it out I will do. Now the top of the dress is smaller than the bottom, so I have to try to make it line up. I don't want it too glaring and like too busy, but I want to be able to make sure that the pepperoni rolls get in there, at least in the straps, and on the straps you can actually see what's going on. So I believe that this is a perfect size. Okay. I want to also make sure, let me zoom in. See, what I'm trying to do is I'm looking, even though the sides are curved over here, I still want to try to like have at least one thing match up if possible, to give it some consistency. I know there we go. This is perfect. Right here is perfect. All right, and I'm going to turn off this layer, and I am going to export it.
And then I'm going to go to the final template, and I am going to place pepperoni front top. See, I'm not seeing it. Ah, here we go. And I want from one corner to the other exactly. And then again, I am going to flip it and turn off that layer and export it.
Okay, so here is the final product. And we can look at it on a mock-up. I worked on the hem a little bit. I worked around and I got everything just figured out perfectly. So we can look at it. The thing that I noticed first of all that I like is when you look at the skirt, there's really no implied directionality. If you try to train your eye to the little swirlies in the middle of the pepperoni rolls, you'll just find them flowing like a set of rivers into each other and out of each other. And same goes for the pepperoni sticks. Down here at the skirt, they face one way, and up here at the blouse, the bodice, it faces the other way. So it gives that illusion of confusion, which is exactly what we want. And like if you kind of squint your eyes a bit, you can totally imagine this as being a flower dress. Like if you saw it out in the distance and you saw someone wearing this, it would appear to be just a traditional flower dress on black with uh, this collar scheme. So it works really, really well, and I'm very, very happy with the final result. And we can go through here and see this dress at different angles. We can see, I like the scoop neck with the straps a lot. I like how I got the pattern just right so you can still see the pepperoni rolls on the straps. So that is a huge plus for me. Here we go. She's standing to the side. We can see kind of the seam over here. Her arm is covering most of it, but we can see that there's not any directionality, as I was talking about just a moment ago, to make it look awkward when it comes together. It looks like it's coming together in an appropriate fashion, which is awesome, is great. And we see this on the same exact thing on the other side too. Um, this model is she seems to be a bit taller because the dress comes a few more inches above her knees. But yeah, this is really, really great, and I'm very happy with the final product here. There's my mock-up. And well, I just want to thank you for coming along with the ride, and I hope to do more of these. Let me know if you might think of any random dress ideas that if you think people might have a following for, and I will definitely contemplate it. And also stay tuned for more videos. Like, comment, subscribe. Thank you. I mean it.